Welcome everyone back to Wrestling with Politics. My name is Joel Perez, and today, 1 week before the 2024 presidential election, I will be giving you guys my official prediction. Who do I think is going to take it home 1 week before the election? Will it be Donald Trump or Kamala Harris? And I love Jill Stein, and that's who I plan on voting for in this election, Jill Stein and the Green Party. And we just made a video about the Democratic attack ad that came out against the Green Party. But unfortunately, I think it's going to be Kamala Harris or Donald Trump who's going to have a legitimate shot of taking this one home in this upcoming election. And unfortunately, I don't think I could give you guys much of a prediction because, as the great Paul Heyman says, we don't make predictions, we make spoilers. And I plan to spoil this 2024 election for all of you. But first, we're going to have to look at what's been going on in the closing days of this election. Kamala Harris and Donald Trump have had a very, very jam-packed schedule. Kamala Harris has been doing Fox News interviews, town halls, and Donald Trump, a little more unorthodox, has been sitting down with the Undertaker, and he's been working at a McDonald's to try to win over election voters. So we've got to take a look at it all, and we've got to get a view of this landscape here a week before the election and really get a feel for who is going to take this home. So let's start with the most entertaining clip of them all. Let's see Donald Trump working at McDonald's.
I'm going for a job right now at McDonald's. I really wanted to do this all my life, and now I'm going to do it because she didn't do it.
I think that's good, George.
Slowly, gently lowered into the oil. Don't want to burn yourself. Down a little bit further.
It was a big part of her resume that she worked at McDonald's, how tough a job it was. She specifically worked at the French fry, where they make the French fries, and she talked about the heat. It was so tough. She never worked at McDonald's. McDonald's just confirmed that again, by the way. She never worked at McDonald's. In other words, she's lying Kamala. Never even touch it, huh?
Exactly.
I was always wondered, wow, that's pretty good stuff like that.
We will give them salt and onions.
What's this sucker? They look like they were. How are you? Nice to see you. That's great. Thank you, man.
Appreciate all
Thank you very much. Fantastic. Hello. Hi, boy. How are you? Your new baby. How are you? Doing great. How are you? So this is compliments of me, okay?
Thank you very much.
How long have you had it?
This location, about a year. I've been an operator for 12 years.
And in this almost perfectly timed appearance at McDonald's, Donald Trump did what his opponent Kamala Harris hasn't been able to do since she started running for president. And that's have an actual genuine interaction with voters. Surprisingly, it ended up being Democratic operative Cenk Uygur who ended up saying it best here, that Donald Trump hit a home run. And he's exactly right, because whether or not you plan on voting for Donald Trump, and I don't, you have to recognize one thing, that especially compared to Kamala Harris, Donald Trump at least comes off as a real human being who you can imagine having as a coworker and having a real conversation with. And this video has definitely gained Donald Trump a lot of votes and gained him a lot of credibility with working class voters, as opposed to Kamala Harris, who has literally began campaigning in swing states with the face of evil, Liz Cheney. And surprisingly, it's Donald Trump who's calling her out on that, who's calling her out for campaigning with somebody who's helped lie us into every war that we've ever been into. So Kamala Harris thinks campaigning with Liz Cheney is one of her leading surrogates for her campaign. She thinks that's going to win her votes. But unfortunately, for any supporters of Kamala Harris, it looks like Kamala Harris has been on an active campaign to lose as many votes as possible. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you just watch this video and you'll see exactly what I'm on about.
Look at how Kamala reacted to this fellow in the crowd simply calling out, Jesus is Lord.
With the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade, and they did as he intended. Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally. have to go to the smaller one down the street.
And in this clip, the words of Kamala Harris come across as openly demonic. And to anyone who believes in God, I want you to listen back to those words very carefully, because Kamala Harris did not say any of that by accident. And as a believer in God myself, it's clear that Kamala Harris is not calling these people chanting Jesus is Lord out by accident. And she's not calling them out over abortion rights either, as the headline in this clip makes it seem. She's calling them out very intentionally because they acknowledge that Jesus is the true Son of God and that Jesus is King. And for some reason, people like Kamala Harris always seem to have a problem with that and always seem to have to make it known that they are against anything that has to do with that message. Because in reality, there are some very demonic forces in control of Kamala Harris. And we're delving into some more of the spiritual realm here, more than the political. But if you have any spiritual belief at all, it is very clear that Kamala Harris and most of these politicians in general have been possessed by some kind of dark entity, especially when you consider the kinds of appearances Kamala Harris has been making with the likes of Usher, who literally lived with P. Diddy and was directly involved in those crimes. And when you consider Kamala Harris's complete lack of regard for human suffering in Gaza, and not to mention the heavy involvement of warmongers like Liz Cheney in Kamala's campaign, all of these things are a direct message from Kamala Harris to the deep state, letting them know exactly who she's going to be representing when she's president. And they think that they can get away with being this corrupt right in front of your face, and that the American people aren't going to realize it. They think that you're too brainwashed to realize what's going on right in front of you. And another reason I mention all of this is because a lot of Democrats make this argument that they are the lesser of two evils. That yes, maybe the Democrats suck, but oh, we're not as bad as the Republicans. They're so much worse. Well, when it comes to Kamala Harris, you can't even make that argument, because she's been in charge for the past 4 years as well. She has allowed Israel to cut off food and water in Gaza. She has been in charge while food prices and rent have skyrocketed. And it's the incompetency of people like her that has allowed America to get this expensive and that has allowed Americans to get this poor. And while you're at it, she's openly campaigning for more war and more censorship while she continues to lie straight to your face and tell you that Joe Biden is as sharp as a tack.
Can you say that you were honest with the American people about what you saw in those moments with President Biden as you were with him again and again, repeatedly in that time?
Of course. Joe Biden is an extremely accomplished, experienced and capable in every way that anyone would want if they're president.
You never saw anything like what happened at the debate night behind closed doors with him?
It was a bad debate. People have bad debates. He is absolutely.
But that's the reason why you're here and he's not running for the top of the ticket.
Well, you'd have to ask him if that's the only reason why.
What do you think?
I am running for president of the United States. Joe Biden is not. And my presidency will be about bringing a new generation of leadership to America that is focused on the work that we need to do to invest in the ambitions and aspirations of the American people.
And that clip right there shows why in the final days of this election, Kamala Harris is losing so much support. Because even though the whole reason Kamala Harris had to enter the presidential race in the first place was because voters were fully aware that Joe Biden was too mentally unfit to serve, instead of distancing herself from the failures of the Biden administration, Kamala Harris continues to be extremely comfortable lying to your face and extremely comfortable insulting the intelligence of voters and ignoring the objective reality of the situation. And that objective reality is that Joe Biden is too demented to serve. And this is a bizarre strategy because this is only reminding voters that Kamala Harris has been a part of every failure of the Biden administration. And that looks like the perfect recipe for how to lose the election, because you're not going to be winning many votes with that argument. So if you truly do accept this logic of the lesser of two evils and you apply it to the situation and you put a gun to my head and tell me I have to vote for either Trump or Kamala, I'm not going to lie to anyone. In that situation, I choose Trump, because I don't believe that Donald Trump is going to be the savior to all of the United States problems. But at least I know Donald Trump was already president for 4 years, and it wasn't the end to the democracy that the Democrats say it was. And a lot of voters would make the argument that we were better off then than we are now. And Donald Trump is also at least promising to end the war in Ukraine. And he teamed up with former Democrat and independent Robert Kennedy Jr., promising to release the JFK files and promising to fight the big food companies which have been poisoning the American diet. Whether or not he actually delivers on those goals is a question of its own. But at least Donald Trump is actually offering voters something to vote for. And again, I am no fan of Donald Trump, but the goal of this channel is to spread the truth. And the truth is, the only reason that Donald Trump is even able to be this relevant is because Democrats like Kamala Harris are so horrible and ineffective. They offer the American people so little that politicians like Donald Trump, who should be a joke, actually ends up being the more viable candidate. And that's because if the Democratic Party was to actually offer voters Medicare for all, a ceasefire in Gaza, an arms embargo against Israel, a $20 minimum wage, any of these things, then Donald Trump wouldn't stand a chance. But they can't do that, so he does. And that's why I wanted to get a full view of the landscape before trying to predict this election. Because there's a lot of things that you can look at when trying to predict an election. You can look at the polls. And if you look at the national polls, they show that Kamala Harris is in the lead. If you look at the swing state polls, they show that Donald Trump is in the lead. And if you listen to election predictors like Professor Alan Lichtman, you'll find out that he thinks that Kamala Harris is going to win. And mind you, he's predicted every single election in his lifetime with his 13 keys methodology. So at the end of the day, you can look at all the polls and you can listen to all the pundits that you want. But if you really want to know, in my opinion, who's going to win this election, all you have to do is listen to the messaging of these candidates. Look closely at the way both of these candidates have run their campaigns and think about one thing. Which one of these candidates' message resonates the most with the American people? If I am to answer that question as honestly as I can, then that makes this all very, very simple. My official prediction for the 2024 election is that Donald J. Trump will once again become president of the United States. And listen, I could be wrong, but 2024 has been the year of Donald Trump. He has survived every legal battle that the Democrats have tried to throw at him. He steamrolled through the Republican primaries earlier this summer. And Donald Trump literally survived being shot and nearly assassinated. For some reason, the deep state just doesn't like this guy. But that's a discussion for another video. But listen, I'm not saying that Donald Trump is going to be the savior to the democracy and that he's going to bring these prices down magically, or that he's going to be able to secure a ceasefire in Gaza, because he's not. But if my assessment is correct, one thing that I can say for sure is that the Democratic Party is going to reap what they have sown, and they are going to face the massive consequences for the damage and the destruction that they have caused, because there are millions of independent voters, and those voters have seen what's been going on for the past 4 years. They've seen what's been going on in Gaza, they've seen what's happened to the United States economy, and they've seen our wealth be given away to other countries, and not to mention to the highest bidder. So those people, and there's millions of them, they're going to come out and vote this November, and they're not going to be voting for Kamala Harris. That's for sure. So let me know in the comments who you guys think is going to take home this 2024 election. And if you agree with what I had to say in this video, you can let me know that in the comments as well. And if you disagree with what I had to say in this video, you already know what you can do. We can battle it out in the comment section down below. And one last thing I wanted to say before closing this video out is just thank you. Thank you guys for helping us reach 100 subscribers on this YouTube channel. I'm truly proud, and it's an honor and it's humbling to be able to say that we have so far 118 and counting subscribers on this YouTube channel. Personally, I can say I never thought we would reach this day, but here we are. And I just wanted to once again say thank you guys so much for everyone who has joined me so far, and to all of those who will join us in the future. I just wanted to say stay tuned, and we're just getting started. So if you want to see more of Wrestling with Politics, there's a bunch of content on the channel, and you already know what you can do. For now, thank you guys for watching this video.